Welcome to episode 1 of Tender Talk. I'm your host, Micah, and I will be joined with everybody else, Oliver, Jordan, and Eve. Just to let all of our viewers know, this recording does include some explicit content, such as swearing and graphic descriptions of trauma. If this does turn you off, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show. Let's talk about the Garratt.
Okay.
So, what do we want to do first? Do we want to do backstory or do we want to do design?
I think design will be the proper place to go first.
No, fuck you for making me go first. Okay.
Oh, crap.
Alrighty.
What have I done?
You have made a massive mistake, is what you've done.
My life story.
Alright. So...
Me too. Me too.
So this obviously needs a little bit of preface. Or preface, however the fuck you say it.
Preface.
So I think we should introduce it with, like, Edward's parts getting worn out. Like, around the time of Old Iron. And Sodor needs a new banker for Gordon's Hill.
When does Old Iron happen?
Old Iron set? When is that set? Do we know what year it is?
Old Iron is set in, like...
1953, I think.
Really?
No.
I believe so.
Okay, so we can't start it that early or that late.
Hold on, let me check when the book was published.
Well, when it's published doesn't really mean when it... That's just... When does the fandom say it
I'm
was
looking
set?
up the timeline.
Joy of the timeline. Okay, but the preface I have is this eventually is built from old War Department ROD 280s, or at least that's where we get the wheels and the motion from, and then we get the boiler, firebox, and cab just from the spares that the NWR had laying around because when they bought Gordon, they're kind of just like, hey, we don't know if he works, take it.
They've got A1 boiler, then the wheels and motion from a WD. Are these the ROD, or are we talking WD for World War II kind of things, like the...
ROD.
ROD, so we're talking like the old Break Central 280s things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
That I can get behind with. This, oh yeah.
This could be Sodor's, like...
Kit bash.
Yeah, to help maintain the railway,
Right.
Well, if we're still having it in like the mid-30s or whatever, this is like right slap bang in the middle of Sodor's locomotive crisis, so they will take literally anything they can find.
Right. And I know we discussed when exactly we would have it built. We were like 35 to 37. It would have to be exported out to Bayer Peacock, but we were like 38 to 40 is NWR built.
Yeah.
I think we should have it sooner just because of, Henry's rebuild. No guarantee it's going to work. So that would place it 35 to 37.
Yeah, because Henry was like, I'm pretty sure that he was rebuilt literally when they were first making the Black Fives, which is why Stanley was like, oh hey, we could just make him into one of these.
Right.
So the year, let me just quickly have a search.
In 1934.
Yeah. 1934 to 1951. So 1934 was when the first batch was built, so that's when Henry would have gone to be fixed.
Right, so he definitely wouldn't have been like Stanier's pet project. Like, okay, here's what I'm doing. If this works, this is the next whole class. He was probably rebuilt after the first batch, maybe.
Yeah, he would, because I'm pretty sure that when I have the theory of when Henry was brought in, like one of the Black Fives was leaving, and they were both side by side something, and Stanley was just like,
right.
Wonder. But yes, the Garratt. We're here for the Garratt.
Yes, we are. Alrighty. So here's what I'm thinking. because the LNER had the U1 built in 1925. The LMS Garratts came about. Let me see. Garratt.
They were in the 30s. Hold on, I got a page here. They were 1927.
Right. So, theoretically speaking, if we went through Buyer Garratt or Buyer Peacock, we could have it as early as 1920, 28 per se, but that's way too early at that point.
Yeah, and plus, if we have it from Bayer Peacock, there's also the fact that it wouldn't really be a hodgepodge because they would just build everything there.
Right,
Because they wouldn't really... Because if it's from Bayer Peacock, they would just build it themselves. They wouldn't really like, hey, we have some parts you could use if you want. They're just like, nah, we'll make it all ourselves.
Well,
We've
no,
been doing
here's
this
the
for
thing,
years.
though. That's exactly what the LMS did. They were like, no, we want you to use these axle boxes, which were already really bad on the 4Fs.
Yeah, look where that went.
Right. You know, unfortunately, the LMS Garratts weren't a success, I would say. I mean...
They did their job.
Like,
They just did it badly.
I'm pretty sure they had less tractive effort than a 9F.
Everything had a less attractive effort than a 9F. It's a 9F, it's in the name.
Well, except, you know, Big Bertha, who technically I think she technically qualifies as a 10F. Oh, no. Never mind. Big Bertha had slightly less tractive effort than the Garratt, actually. And yet, between the LMS Garratt and the U1, Big Bertha still had to come save the day.
Yep.
Okay, so...
She was just
Got
built
my
different.
Bertha for that.
Alright, so I think we can be pretty set about 1935 to 1937 for its arrival then.
Yep.
Alright,
Yeah.
perfect. So what I'm thinking then is the NWR is like, hey, we bought all of these war stock locos because they were cheap, and ROD was like, we don't need them anymore. Or like,
Sure,
maybe,
just have them.
right. Or like maybe, oh, here's an idea. Perhaps the NWR bought the ones that the LMS sent for scrapping. Because the LMS kept the tenders, but then they just went and scrapped the engines.
Yeah, that I can see the NWR. Like, oh, nice logos you have there.
So like, just say the NWR buys 4 or 5. They take what they can to make 2 working engines of the 8. I think they were 8Ks on the GCR. And then
yes.
And then they're like,
Yes,
okay,
that's what
these
they are, yeah.
other 3 are going to be spared.
Which lucky lad gets to be the boiler?
So from there, you know, these other 3 engines sit and languish. You know, they're probably kind of long dead because, you know, they're being picked apart for scrap or for spare parts. So, you know, we come about 1935. Henry has his accident. He's sent off to crew. In the meantime, the NWR needs either another freight locomotive or at least a heavy banking engine because, you know, a Victorian 440 isn't going to keep up. So, they take a look at what the LNER did and what the LMS did, and they have to make the decision, okay, do we want to cut these engines down to size to make them like 262s, like the LMS, or like Buyer Peacock suggested to the LMS, and they were like, no, 260s. Done. Or do we keep them as the 280s like they are as built? And that's where I think the NWR is kind of like, let's make them Mikados. Just because they're like, for operation in either direction, they want guide, like, you know, they want the pilot wheels to guide them through the tighter corners. You know, it lightens the axle load as well. Not a whole lot, but quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking with it being about a 280, it would be in similar tractive effort to that of the U1, which was, let me see, tractive effort on that thing was 72,940 pounds.
Let me see. What is the tractive effort of an 8K? I'm just going to have a look now. Because technically it would... Well, no, it wouldn't. It's just the wheel sets, isn't it?
Yes,
have
it
the
would
boiler
be
of an A1, wheel sets from 8Ks.
Right.
What size pistons did they have? What piston diameter did they have?
The
Wikipedia, my old friend, come here.
They had, let me see.
Cylinders, 21 inches.
21 by 26.
Yeah, 21 by 26. That's I have no idea about the workings of it, so I'm just gonna say that's good.
Right. And
I'm guessing.
I think the NWR would recognize the problems that the LNER had with their Garratt being a 6-cylinder locomotive.
Oh, But they wouldn't. They just have them because the 8Ks are 2 cylinders each.
Right.
That'll be fine. They'll just have 2 each wheel sets. That's
right. So
that'll be fine.
So that would reduce tractive effort a little bit, but on the other hand, we are significantly raising boiler pressure because the A1s ran at 180 psi. However, I personally would think during the Bayer Garratt construction phase, they would look at this boiler and be like, "Huh, I wonder if we can make it an A3 boiler," and they would try. It wouldn't be exact, but it would be successful enough they could raise the PSI to 225 like the rest of class members with that boiler.
Oh, I've just thought of the best name for this engine.
Mm.
MacGyver. Because they're literally MacGyvering this shit. Literally. They are literally combining all of these things. Just going, right, let's modify this. We are going to MacGyver this shit. Call the engine MacGyver. Honestly, it just works.
Honestly, it does work.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's a good name.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Okay. So, alrighty. So we're obviously in the design phases. I think they would either take the original cylinders from the 8K, so the 21 by 26 inches, or what did the Pacifics have at the time? They had
this would have been
right. A1s had 20 by 26. I think they would keep the 21 by 26.
Yeah,
for simplicity.
Yeah, because they're going to they will want the max amount of power because this thing isn't going to be pulling trains. It's going to be banking shit on short journeys. They don't really want strength over time. They want strength now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, alrighty. So it'll keep the
if they
21.
could get something like the GER Decapod, that would be perfect for them. Like they need strength. They need extra acceleration and extra strength.
Yeah, they need strength and acceleration on demand over short periods.
So wheels in motion from the 04s. Well, yeah, wheels motion cylinders. Obviously, the boiler comes from Gordon's spare, so the A1, I think they at least get it up to spec with an A3 just to increase the
boiler pressure.
The boiler pressure to increase the tractive effort, since they're like 6 cylinders for this one 180 psi boiler's like a little much, Like I said, or like we've discussed, it is well known.
Wait, 6 cylinders?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah,
right, yeah.
Yeah, the U1 had 6 cylinders. So, I think by the time Henry comes back from his rebuild, the Garratt's not quite done, but it's kind of too late to kind of be like, let's back out of this, like the NWR.
Yeah, it's built, but it's not built to work. It's like it actually looks like something.
Right. So the NWR is kind of like
boiler tests, right?
Like
they'd be running boiler tests.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd probably have the boiler attached to the frames and the wheels and the inner motions and all that jazz. They probably wouldn't have had the water and coal bunkers on yet, though.
Yeah.
That would have been until.
It probably wouldn't be alive quite yet.
Right. I think when they're doing the boiler testing, I think they would do the hydro testing at this stage. They wouldn't quite be ready for a steam test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from there, I would say construction starts in 35. They initially planned it to be a heavy goods engine because they couldn't count on Henry quite yet. But once Henry proves himself, that's when they're like, okay, this is going to be our banking engine. We want maximum tractive effort.
Yeah, halfway through, it's just to be like, oh, this will work.
Right.
Once more, earning its name.
Right. So then, honestly, I have no reasoning behind it being a 282 to, other than the fact I just like the idea of a Mikado Garratt.
Just trying to think what the benefits would be if they were adding the 2 training wheels in the middle.
It would be a slightly lighter axle loading. It would have the ability to navigate tighter corners just a tad.
But the question is, though, where it is, because the only journey it would really be doing long distance is from Wellsworth to Croven's Gate for any repairs that Wellsworth would be able to do.
Right. But here's the thing as well.
I'm pretty sure the line between then and there is quite straight. Like, there's bends, but there isn't anything really tight.
But, you know, we're getting back to, like, okay, it kind of has... It won't fit in that, like, side platform that we always see Edward sitting in. So it's going to have to... So it's going to have to negotiate the tighter point system that is Wellsworth.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll touch on this a little bit later, but, you know, we discussed, okay, in 55, after the failure of the U1, BR's like, we're snatching your engine. And
oh, nice Garratt you have there. Gimme.
Right. So, and like I said, we'll touch on that a little bit later. But, so yeah, I think Mikado Garratt, besides the fact of it just looking nice, would honestly suit the railway just a tad better. Just, you know, it's still a fledgling railway, so, you know, it's not quite up to snuff yet. It was built during the war.
Yeah, there is also the fact that where it's built during the war,
right?
It depends if it's finished. Like, I'm guessing they started building it in Henry's thing, like when Henry was there. Would he have been finished before the war started?
War starts in 1937.
39.
I was talking about World War One.
Oh, World War One, right? Yeah, sorry.
Right. So that's what I meant by, you know, the railway's still a fledgling company. This Garratt has to meet kind of shoddy track work until they're like, okay, let's relay it for everything that's gonna hit us for World War II. You know. So
actually, they probably wouldn't redo the track until at least the 50s, because up by then, that's when BR would be coming around. It's like, right, you need to fix this, gotta fix that. That's decrepit. Replace it, and yeah.
Close back and me.
All right. So then.
Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah.
Okay, the Garratt is by no means a small engine. It is probably going to be
massive.
It will probably be a Gordon and a Thomas Long. Because, you know...
Actually, probably longer, because... Not by much, but probably quite a bit longer. Yeah, because it's two... Because it is 2 04s back-to-back, but there's still a little bit of a gap in between the 2 sets of driving wheels.
Right.
The driver's sets. So...
Because, let's see, the total length of the U1 is 87 feet 3 inches. So the wheelbase of an A3 is 60 feet 10.6 inches. So it's A1, A3 is going to be a little bit over that, maybe by a foot or two. So it is definitely...
the E2 is 33 feet 3 inches.
So it's just going to be a little short of... Or no, actually, it will probably end up being 1 Gordon, 1 Thomas Long.
Yeah,
especially
okay,
if we make it a Mikado, it will be 1 Gordon, 1 Thomas Long.
Okay. I can agree with that.
That illustration at the end of Down the Mine, that's how long.
So yeah, there you go, folks. This thing is huge. You won't be seeing this going down Thomas's branch line by accident. Die.
Alright, so that's basic design principles.
Yep.
You know, it's 282, 282.
By this point, everyone can imagine the monstrosity that this is becoming.
Right, okay. So, now comes, like, you know, what the water and the coal looks like.
God.
So, I'm thinking Garratt's like, let's try a revolving bunker like the LMS Garratt's had. and they're gonna trial it, and the NWR is gonna be like, no, we don't like this.
No.
So I can picture in the middle of the war, they get fitted, or it gets fitted with a mechanical stoker.
Well, with in the middle of the war, they wouldn't make a big fuss of it because it's the war. The works is probably half like building some kind of war something or other.
Okay.
And locomotive repairs are a suggestion more than actual need to be done kind of things.
Okay. So then, either 39 right before the war starts, or it gets fitted with one after.
I can see it like being quickly and silently just like being repaired and or put in with the what was it again?
A mechanical stoker.
Mechanical stoker, yeah. I can see them just like quickly taking it into the works for like routine repairs or something and just quickly fitted with mechanical stoker and stuff.
Right. Because it is a large engine, and unfortunately that was one of the downfalls to both the LMS Garratt and the LNER Garratt. Was both were hand fired, and it was obviously back-breaking work to fire or basically two engines at once.
Yeah, but to be honest, where this is in the war, they would necessitate the repairs if it was needed, because like I'll touch more on this on the backstory portion of this, but like when this engine is going to be indispensable for the island during the war.
Oh,
this isn't going to be doing any banking trains. No. This is going to be put on the heaviest trains the island can take.
Okay, like, yes, during the war itself, yes, it will not be banking. It will be pulling armament trains, a lot of...
It'll be pulling practically everything.
Right, a lot of railway workshops were basically like, okay, fuck the trains. We're building tanks.
Yeah, it was literally just
so,
fixing trains. We don't do that anymore.
So, here's the fledgling Croven's Gate Works, like, ready to fix their first engine, and the government's like, no, you're making tanks. And they're like, I don't want to make a tank. Too bad.
It's like, we finally have the workers to fix our own engine. Hi, we're at war. God damn it!
Okay. So, okay, yeah, I can see that. So, I'm thinking a 3940s kind of thing, because, it would still kind of be in a trial stage, but, like, it'd be far enough out where it's in revenue service.
But yeah, so mechanical stoker, big yes.
Because it's an A1, A3 boiler, do we do a double Ketchlep chimney?
I can see it being trialed with one maybe in the 50s. Like, honestly, I could, but as built, it would have a single.
Oh, for
as
sure.
Built.
I feel like in the 50s, they would either have the double chimney, or it would have a Giesel injector. Or ejector. One of the two. Maybe both.
Somebody will correct us, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because,
That's what the comments are for.
And,
please be nice.
The Giesel injector had mixed results. It wasn't very successful on what's his face, Edward Thomas, but like it was super successful on a number of J94s. Or
they were kind of small though.
They were pretty, yeah. Well, at the time they were still War Department 060s or whatever, they're austerity engines.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I would say in the 50s it would be trialed with one or the other.
Yeah. You good there, Jordan?
What did I come back to?
I didn't even know you left. I'm sorry. That's a horrible thing to say, but I didn't even know you left.
Okay. So we narrowed down what we're doing. It arrives 37. It's the 282. It's gonna start with like a revolving bunker, like the LMS Garratt's had.
LMS ones.
And then NW is gonna be like, no, we hate it, and they're gonna fit it with a mechanical stoker 3940s.
Yeah, about midway through the war, most likely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, at least that would make it easier for the firemen.
Oh, for sure.
Poor sod.
Weren't a couple 9Fs trialed with a mechanical stoker as well?
I believe so at some point, yes. I don't know if it was successful or not, but I do believe it did happen.
Right. Okay. Okay.
They tried everything with the 9S. Good grief.
Basically, that's all I have on design, pretty much. You know, the water is kind of just as you can imagine what a water tank would look like on a Garratt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty much
Water-
standard, just big box at the front, another big box at the back.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
real quick. Do we want the smoke box or the face on the smoke box or the front of the water tank?
I am on the smoke box because I am not
Smoke box.
having that big debate of, but how is it on the front of the engine? All the faces are on the smoke box. It's on the smoke box. Just put it there. Just so it can't see half the time.
Okay.
Big whoop.
So then that
Well, then
does.
what would happen to Toby? Because his face isn't on the smoke
This is
box.
the exact reason I didn't want to.
Hold on. No, we're not going to talk
I mean,
about this because Toby
you'll
technically
see
has
it-
two faces. So
Okay.
we're not going to talk about that right now.
And yeah, we are not talking about that tonight, Matthew.
I guess.
Yeah,
I guess.
the Garratt
I guess
would be
Toby.
able to see just everything below its nose would be.
Well, it depends
Giant
how
tank.
big the tank is, because I'm pretty sure that they would have the tank cut to a point where the eyes would be able to see over it, so it can at least see where it's going.
As well, it
But
does
you can't
matter
see
on
anything
how.
below the eyes.
It does also matter about the boiler pitch. You know how high it sits in the air, which
Yeah.
I'm thinking it should roughly only very slightly be taller than Gordon.
Yeah, just a bit, just a bit where it's not stupid, but just a bit where he's like, oh god, there's someone bigger than me.
God.
I don't like this anymore.
Just to put fear into that bastard.
Now Thomas just passes the works. God, Thomas just passes the works. One day, just he's a Garratt outside's like, oh, Gordon's gonna love this, and he just keeps hyping him up to Gordon. When there's Gordon's like, oh no, he's not real. And then the one day he sees him, it's like, Jesus Christ, that little shit was right.
Gordon would totally have
Just for
Jesus
one
Christ.
day.
He's got
Gordon
to
would-
see it fairly often because he can never make it over that hill.
And
He's just gonna be sitting in Wellsworth, expecting Edward. Someone's like, "Where is that little Edward?" And just suddenly sees the Garratt come off the side, just like, "What the fuck?"
like sees the Garratt. The Garratt has a massive chime whistle just because it's a fat engine.
It's just playing the British Grenade.
It has Toby's 3 chimes steam whistle from that one episode.
Yeah, that's where that went.
Yeah.
Scared
No,
the
that's how
shit out of
Toby gets it.
Spoilers. Shh. That comes later.
Okay. All right. That's basically all I have design wise. Anybody have anything else to add?
What is the paint color?
The livery, yes.
Okay. So that it depends on your personal interpretation of what NWR blue is.
Oh,
Because
here we go.
so
Oh Christ.
personally,
If you want
I-
this to be a real mashup, put a copper cap on the funnel.
I will hurt you.
unfortunately, I gave it a copper. If you guys were paying attention when I started the model, I gave it one.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah.
I mean, I give everybody copper funnels. Anyways,
Exactly. That's literally your gimmick.
no. So I have
Honestly-
it in what was it? It is. Let me find it. I gotta search our chat.
Kinda
Personally, I
Middleton
would've-
blue, kinda not.
See, personally, I would have put him in NWR green. Because blue is mainly like a passenger colour, because it's mainly on Thomas, Gordon, and Edward, who are mainly
Oh
passenger
god,
engine.
what if they think it's Henry? Holy crap.
They'd be like, Henry, what the hell?
No, Gordon just fucking sees the ghost like, Henry, what did they do to you?
And this
Gordon would start
booming
uncontrollably
voice
sobbing.
comes from the middle. Who's Henry?
Oh no, they wiped his memory. Henry,
What have they done to you? Who the fuck's Henry?
Okay.
I
So-
will
Henry,
find
they turn
Tom
you
and I
into-
will make him explain what happened to you.
Okay. So,
Just I can.
go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just imagining that Gordon like hates this locomotive. Like it's all just like a hodgepodge. It's using his own parts, and it's green. Gordon's most definitely gonna call it Frankenstein.
Oh, that
He
is.
was.
That would also be a pretty good nickname or a good name for it. I'm not gonna lie.
You Frankenstein.
What, you Philistine? What are you?
What are you
Frankenstein.
doing gallivanting around with my boiler?
Your boiler? You gave this up
No,
years ago. This is my boiler
no.
now.
Plot twist, it has a very quiet, soft voice.
Your boiler. You gave it to me.
No. It's Murdoch, but take it to a level of 10. It hates the sound of its own chuffing.
No, it's just like, who the hell are you? Sorry? Who are you?
Getting up.
Okay, alright, but back to the livery. So, personally, I have NWR Blue as the blue Audrey painted Thomas in, which is Umbral Matte 109 World War I Blue. Like,
I
that's...
think blue. What? That's what Douglas is painted in.
Yes, it's...
On the Talion. Taliclin? Talion?
No, he's
I thought you meant-
painted in
I thought you meant-
RAF Blue. There's a difference.
I thought you
To
meant.
be honest, that shade is...
Douglas.
RAF Blue is kind of the closest we could really get in terms of locomotive paint, because you can't really go to a model shop and go, "Hi, can we have 10,000 bottles of your Humbrol paint, please? We need to paint a locomotive."
No, like, you would honestly have to go to a custom paint shop at that point.
The NWR using that expense, please.
Nah,
That's
they'd
why the
figure out how to
logo
make
paint
it
was
themselves.
happening. They couldn't get enough paint for all their engines.
See, that's
Why
why
do you
we
think they're
have
so
Henry
mismatched?
C.
They
Brett.
just used what they had around.
Anyways, so personally, I think the Garratt should be blue, just because it's like, you know, now it's the NWR's baby. They're like, we put so much money into this thing, we're gonna take care of it, and they paint it blue to shove it in Gordon's face, and then for some reason after the war, they're like, we're gonna paint it green, not just any green, LNR apple green, and they're gonna like dress it up like to the
Oh
nines,
no!
and they're gonna leave
He would've
Gordon
hated
blue.
that.
Gordon's gonna have a goddamn aneurysm.
I feel like Gordon would just crash through the manager's office at Croven's gate.
There's a reason why there's a reason why there's a Gordon-shaped hole at the end of Kirk Ronan.
Gordon's brakes didn't stop.
He just
It's
was
just a
paying
te-
attention.
He just
just
wanted attention.
You thought his meltdown in Forever and Ever was bad? You have not seen
You
the
ain't
Garratt
shit.
in
Gloves.
Hell, the only reason why he didn't run through the streets of Kirk Ronan was because they reinforced the wall.
Okay, alright, but yes. I'm one for a blue Garratt. Anybody else?
I'm
Yeah,
down
I
for
don't see a
blue Garratt.
problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blue Garratt seems fine.
And then when the war comes, everyone's always painted black because they were boring.
Yep.
Yeah, totally not because it was by demand of the military or anything. It's that was boring. And then after the wars, they're like, "Hey, the war's over. Let's celebrate like painting our engines how they used to be."
Can you
It's
imagine
like,
how
"Tell you
much
what,
money
let's
the...
fuck with Gordon.
No, can you imagine how much money the
Let's fuck with
NWR
them
would
more
spend
than
in
we
paint?
have.
What was that, Micah? Sorry.
I said, can you imagine how much money the NWR would spend in paint just to paint their engines back to pre-war liveries, and BR comes in and says, fuck you, all of your engines are gonna be black.
It's like, I have here the official livery template. Nah, we're just gonna keep them how they are. Just the. Sorry?
That's why.
Some punk graffiti Southern on Thomas's tanks.
Backstory. Who wants to go first?
Right, yes, my turn. Alright.
Hell yeah.
this is all I can remember because, as I said earlier, the document that I've written down decided to not exist anymore. I will look into that, but as of yet, we do not have it. So my mind will just have to suffice, which means we're fucked.
And we can always, as
I will do
one
what I
does
can.
with your memory, we'll just fill in the gaps, and you're gonna be like, oh,
Yeah,
right.
So, oh yes, I remember I did this. But yeah, mainly it's built in like when Henry goes away to fill in the need and stuff. It's delivered or built by them. Can't remember which one we decided on. And when they get it, they are just like, oh my god, he's magnificent. Look at how big he is. And then they're just such in awe that they actually fail to realize, oh shit, he's massive. And on his first journey to wherever he's dropped off, Kirk Ronan or Victor Tower, whichever one, and he just, not Kirk Ronan, Craven's Gate, sorry. And when he goes to Welverse, he literally damages so much of the bridges and the track from his sheer weight that by the time they get to Walsworth and the Hats like go to their offices and stuff, there's like 1,500 missed phone calls and stuff.
Oh, hey, that's how we can justify like the big engines like Hank, because they would have been reinforced for this damn Garratt.
Please don't bring up Hank.
We will. He will be
Hank
yes.
is TV series material.
I'm not touching
We'll discuss
Hank
Hank in another episode. Okay.
That will be my coup de grace.
Awesome. Alright, so, per Oliver's memory, we have a lot of gaps to fill in.
No, I haven't finished. I ain't fucking finished.
Well, then finish!
Damn you! But yeah, and by the time that they finished like the trial run and stuff, they've practically fouled up quite a bit of the main line. So obviously this paints the engine's knowledge of the Garratt in a bit of a dark light. And the Fat Controller, being the Fat Controller, doesn't necessarily say what caused the damage. So of course the engines are jumping to conclusions, and they're all thinking, oh god, it's this massive monster and shit. Percy's afraid to go out at night, Henry's an absolute wuss, Thomas is going, I'm not scared, and that very night when he has... Meh. News travels fast here.
Here's the thing.
Henry
For
comes
such a
back with
massive
the
engine.
Herculean task of slaying the monster.
Right. It just sleeps at Wellsworth because it's afraid to go anywhere else but between Wellsworth
Exactly.
and Garratt.
It's like the Fat Controller just tells us, like, by the way, the main line's damaged, so everything's going to be slow. And then it's like, why is it damaged? It's like, oh, just reasons.
You know,
He
just
doesn't
having
actually
traffic
say
flow.
why it's damaged, he just says it is.
That's
So
the real
obviously-
reason why we haven't seen up to Vickerstown in the railway series.
The Garratt fucked up the main line too much, didn't see it for 10 years.
Actually, we could put better late than never there. Like, that's why everything is so screwed up on the timetables, because they're still trying to bring stuff down from the east side of the island, but because the Garratt messed
Also,
everything up.
remember the episode where the viaduct's being repaired? I
Yeah,
can't remember what it
that's
is.
better
Yeah.
late than
Yeah,
never.
that is why it is damaged. The Garratt.
Okay. Alright, Oliver, are you done?
No.
Okay, continue.
Yeah, I keep interrupting him, sorry.
No.
It's fine. But yeah, so the next week is just all the engines absolutely overreacted to every little thing until finally Henry comes back. It's like, Henry, there's a massive monster on the island. He's like, there's no monster, there's just the Garratt. The what? No, the Garratt, he does the banking now. And then Adrian just looks to Edward, who knew the whole time and just never said anything. Just because, of course, he did. And then they meet the Garratt, they get on with the Garratt, except for Gordon, and...
I tried to
That's it.
tell you, but you guys wouldn't listen.
No, it's just like, what Garratt? It's like, oh, he took over Edward's job, and everyone just looks at him, just like, you what? It's just like, meh.
Edward
You
just
all
pulls a
wanted to
classic,
believe
oh,
your
did I
fairy
forget to tell you?
tales.
What was that, Micah?
I said, Edward just pulls the classic, oh, did I forget to tell you?
Yes, like, oh, did I not mention?
Like, and
I mean,
everyone's
it's
just
either
like,
that or Edward's the one fixing up the Garrett's mess.
like everyone who stalls on the hill, they're completely expecting Edward, and then like they get going, and all of a sudden it's a massive jolt of energy, and they're like, "What the hell, Edward?" Like,
It's like, good God, Edward, what have you been puffing?
and like they're
What
all
kind of
gone
thing?
before the Garratt.
Steroids, what have you done?
I see Henry's leftover Welsh coal has been treating you well.
And then the giant. And
then one day when Gordon has to stop at Wellsworth for the banker, and the Garratt just sidles up alongside, and he just, well, to use the colloquial term, pisses himself.
No, okay, real
Gordon
quick.
doesn't know what
He
he's
literally
seeing.
dropped his fire
He's
bar.
seeing what seems to be an A1 boiler on the two chassis of an old War Department locomotive with all sorts of other contraptions mashed onto the thing. He doesn't know what to think. And it rolls alongside, says a toot and hello, which literally shakes the earth with its whistle, and damn near pushes Gordon to get going.
No.
Please don't hurt
Okay,
me.
okay.
I swear, I'll be good to Thomas. I won't make fun of him anymore.
Okay.
You can just hear him praying as he gets shunted up the hill.
No, it's just like, hello there, I'm the new Garratt, how are you? And then just the whole time Gordon just squealing, just
Okay, hear me out on this though.
He's shuddering so much that his crew can't even stand in his cab.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
hear me
then
out on
that's-
this
and then-
though. So, you know,
Like, they have to get in the front coach because he's shaking them out.
okay. So we
Carry on,
know
Micah?
Topham and Stanier, great friends. That's the whole reason why we got Henry's rebuild, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a well-known fact that Stanier spent some time in America, right?
Oh God,
So
Oh,
he
I
brings
can hear where this is.
Toppy back a
Presley
gift.
went to America, and that's how we got Gordon, but I did not know that
Yes.
Daniel did.
Okay. So he brings back Topham a gift.
Oh God, what?
It's a massive American whistle. That's it.
Yes!
Topham, like, you know, we have Toby's 3-chime, or we have this massive fucking 5-6
Should we
time.
leave it alone? Should we play it safe? And we say no. Let's make it bigger.
And Topham, just because now he has this new fancy shiny engine to play with, he's like, I'm gonna put it on that thing. So, you know, it speaks as quiet as a mouse, but then you just hear this bone-quaking American 6-chime whistle.
Yeah, I 100% agree to that. That's canon.
Perfect.
But yeah, as for the rest of the history, it's mainly straightforward. Just ran this bank's trains up and down the hill. That's basically its life. There's a few stints on some trains, but that's only in the greatest of emergency. There aren't any crashes or anything. It's actually strangely
Successful.
competent.
Okay.
Is the correct term
He-
for the
I only
railway.
have-
He's
I only
competent,
have
so he doesn't
one
crash.
question about this.
Yes.
Hmm?
Who
What?
would cause the fish accident with the flying kipper?
Actually, the reason he is actually away being repaired, which is why Duck is being the banker, because he's away for
Okay.
repairs. Yeah, every time you see a banker story, it's either the Garrett's having repairs or something, which isn't there. That's just literally, that's just it.
Well,
Okay.
Well,
that
what about
accident
like
happened.
brake van? How many brake vans would the Garratt smash up?
So here's my
Couple of
thing.
weeks are a bit trial and error, but you know.
So I think the NWR would actually adopt American practices where the banker, or so whoever, like, say there's a tank engine at Wellsworth, they would uncouple the brake van, the Garratt would couple up, and then they would couple the brake van to the end of the Garratt. A lot of early American railroads did this because at the time, cabooses were built out of wood, pretty much. And they did that so the engine, like, there had been accidents where engines would just smash.
Yeah, considering this is the NWR we're talking about, they are literally give anything they got. So most of their brake vans are kind of old.
Right,
decrepit,
exactly.
falling
So
apart.
So yeah, the NWR would adopt that American practice.
Yeah, I can see that
And
happening.
maybe Stanier tells them that after he comes back with the six chime steam whistle.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so
But yeah, the history carries on as normal until the war. Once the war comes around, the Garratt's taken to the works, so it's modded for more long distance running, so it can actually better pull trains.
Given the
So
mechanics.
like when the war comes across, it can actually pull trains without literally killing itself from the sheer power it bestows. And so most of the war, it's pulling the heaviest of the trains that the NWR has to carry. So like trains of tanks and resources.
you know,
Like
Railguns.
all sort like absolute massive 15-inch battleship guns, all alike.
like Sodor or Tidmouth, despite being, you know, like pretty much the highest class of shipbuilding aside from Harland and Wolff
Belfast.
up in Belfast. Belfast.
It's surprising nobody knows that.
Hey, you know,
But yeah, Tidmouth would be very, very busy in the war.
right. But despite this, it's still Tidmouth at the time is still kind of a small harbor until pretty much after the war. So
Well,
they
no,
can't.
because in the war, I have this theory where they would dramatically upgrade it because, like, the Admiralty did this a lot with existing harbors. Like, let's look at Southampton. That was quite literally during the war, a quarter of its size was added or something. Like, I'm not sure if it's Southampton, but it's something. One of the big ports today was like massively upgraded in the war. But I can see them doing that to Tidmouth because of its strategical positioning.
Right.
I was using air quotes then, but you know.
But you know,
Yeah.
in the midst of this construction effort, Tidmouth can't really take in shipments of armaments for this massive warship that you also have in the works, right? Anyway.
Next episode.
Anyways.
But yes,
So-
back to the Garratt. Midway through the war, as we said before, it gets its new bunker, which is just basically a normal one with a mechanical stoker, replacing the boiler, the rotating one, which I still cannot fathom to this day. But
The LMS was weird.
yeah, it was very weird.
Yeah.
And yet, nothing really changes. Then, when the 50s come around,
Okay.
things start to change.
I'll take over from the 50s since I kind of did most of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I will take over to my gracious co-host Micah to carry on.
right. Okay. So, as we discussed, the LMS Garratts and the LNER U1 were not great at what they were built for.
They were crap.
Like the the U1 very often ran short of steam and they coasted back down the bank or the grade so they could build up more steam, and the LMS, like I said, barely had.
It was literally too powerful.
Right. So the thing of it is 1950s rolls around. The Garratt has now gained the attraction of British Rails. And at this time, they're doing the trials of the U1 in 52 on the Lickey Incline. It obviously fails. So they're like, where can we find a successful Garratt? So then they turn their eyes to the NWR. Yeah, that's right. Jesus.
Yeah, MWR Garratt, yeah.
Yes. I start the 50s at our chat. Okay. So when I wrote this part of the history, I wrote it as it's never gonna be preserved. Like, it's an amazing engine, but after
You thought that was gonna be a happy ending?
after the war, and then after BR's service on the Lickey Incline, it's just crap, and the NWR has no choice but to scrap it. So, let's see. So,
Yeah.
the U1...
What I sort of remember putting in is, like, once it's replaced by 9Fs, as were most of the bangers at Lickey, it is gifted back to the NWR, but it is in absolutely atrocious condition. Because even after the war, it was in a bit of a kind of not okay state, but they didn't have a chance to repair it because BR was like, hey, can we have this?
Right. So, personally, I have it arriving at Lickey in 1955 after the failure of the U-1.
Yeah.
So, and this is, of course, after, the LMS Garratt stalls on the hill. The U-1 runs short of steam while banking the train and is later saved by Big Bertha. So after that... So after that, that's when BR's like, okay, we're gonna, snatch up this this monstrosity you had this locomotive manufacturer create 30 years ago by this point. 25.
Yeah, it'd be about that, yeah. 30, 25 years old, something like that.
So, from 55 to whenever the 9Fs replace it. Or no, actually, I have it returning back into the NWR, or now, since it's BR, the Northwest region, after the Lickey Incline fell under control of the Western region, and that what happened in 58. The Garratt, unfortunately, after seeing lack of maintenance on behalf of BR, unfortunately could not do very much work, and personally, I have it scrapped in 1962. Of course, that's not a hard or a set year. We can always play around with that. Let me see.
Yeah, personally, I would sort of say that it would be quietly scrapped because they wouldn't want to make a deal of it because this is Sodor. They view engines way too much that they should. They love their trains way too much.
Unfortunately, one of those situations where the NWR or the Northwest region doesn't have a choice.
And actually, come to think of it, this is actually one of the few times the NWR will actually scrap an engine.
Yeah.
Honestly, they will.
Well, and that's not necessarily true either. They scrapped all of the older Victorian locomotives as well that fell under the NWR control eventually in 1934. That's canon. We can't change that, unfortunately.
Whichever Nielsen box tank that was still there blew up, so they didn't have to scrap that one.
Where does it say it blew up? I've never seen anything anywhere say
it was
blown up.
in the Audrey lecture.
I think you mean the one that actually still belonged to the S&M until it blew up in 91 or in 1901. Because Neil survived.
Wait, what?
Garratt, people, Garratt, please. Yes, maybe.
Right, but I'm answering Eve's question or statement. Anyways, to finish off, I like to think number 3 stayed on the S&M, and that's the one that got worked to death. Obviously, Neil, number 2, went to Crovan's Gate, to the Crovan's Gate Mining Co., and then number 1 got sold off into oblivion. So I think Neil survived up until 1934, where he was either scrapped or preserved. One or the other. There's no other option. But yeah, so so with the Garratt, it's just eventually it can't work anymore. It's just so in such a bad shape. It would cost a fortune to actually rebuild the poor thing. So they just quietly take it aside and slowly start scrapping it over the years. And here's the thing: it's in my eyes, it knows it's coming and it has accepted its fate. Many of the other engines are like, no, you still have a working life, after they see it just sitting outside of Crovan's Gate Works for like months. Or they don't actually know it's been scrapped. Hell, they might not even have known it came back. Like I said, it comes back in 58 and it does as much work as it can up until 62. Right, yeah, of course. So the engines would know it came back. But they would think, it's just been withdrawn for maintenance. But then as they pass day after day, week after week, they just see it sitting in the Crovan's Gate Works yards. It hasn't been touched. It's been rusting.
Smaller and smaller.
And they're like...
Little by little, he got smaller and smaller until there was nothing left.
Exactly. And,
Except this time, kids, the story isn't made up.
Except this time, Goldie was not bullshitting.
And this was the real story that Coldy based his off of.
Yeah, he just based it off this.
And and like all the
Sick
engines,
fuck.
of the engines who would notice,
Cody...
I think Gordon, as intimidated as he would be by this monstrosity we have created, he would be the one who cares the most. Because unfortunately, like it or not, they are technically related.
Yeah.
He's the one who was saved by it the most, so he would have a closer bond.
Well, bond's a bit stretch. It's more of a general acceptance that he exists.
Right. Like Gordon doesn't like the idea that they're cousins, but they're cousins.
He loves it.
And so he's the one who like watches and he notices, so he talks to the Garratt as much as he can whenever he stops at Croven's Gate or whenever he's there for maintenance, and it's still just sitting there getting smaller and smaller, until eventually the day comes for Gordon's overhaul. The only man.
Oh no!
Oh,
No! You cannot do that!
the
That's just heartless! Oh!
I feel like at this point, though, both of them would have accepted it.
Right, like they would have had enough conversations. The Garratt, long before it was even slated to be scrapped, knew it was no longer in a great working condition, and it was his choice to go, or like to go when he did, instead of when the Northwest region was like, hey, we're gonna try and squeeze you until the end of Steam on the on BR on the mainland. And it's like, no, I would like to go as soon as possible.
Yeah, but just imagine the sheer fear when Gordon's in the works and you just suddenly spots a lightly rusted boiler just sitting in the corner being prepped. You could just imagine that. Wait a minute, where did you get that from? Hold on, what's that shade of colour?
Well, and here's the thing.
Here's
the thing. The boiler, like we've discussed, obviously has the face. However...
Oh, God, no.
Right, no, hold on. Stop.
Oh, God.
Stop. However...
With this and the 60s, Gordon is a broken man.
Yeah.
There's a reason he's so horrible at the start of Enterprising Engines.
Here's the thing, though. I feel like the works would be like, they would feel sorry for the engine. So they would, like, remove his smoke box and, like, just leave it on a little flat car or, like... once the water tank has been scrapped and the locomotive has been separated from each power unit, the smoke box just rests on the leading unit, just sits quietly at the back of the works. Just it knows its fate. It has accepted it. It sees its boiler. It sees Gordon come in for his overhaul.
It's 2 and 2 together.
You mix 2 and 2 together. Now. We're not gonna get into, how locomotive souls work. We'll come back. That
is a very, very convoluted question that I do not have the mental faculties to go into today.
Anyways, to finish it all out, the Garratt holds no ill will to watch its former body basically become part of Gordon. In fact, it's rather happy to see that some part of him is getting another chance at life, even if he's not a part of it. You know I was going to throw trauma in here. Why are you guys surprised?
Here I was thinking this was going to be a PG-13.
Do you want to know how many times we've said fuck in the last several
minutes? Good point. I am British. I do swear like a sailor.
We've been recording for over an hour.
A slightly less depressing version of the Mighty Mac episode.
Oh no.
Slightly less depressing or slightly more?
Okay, back to the Garratt.
Okay, so I think that's enough on history. I think we got the point across.
Oh, actually, yes. I do have another thing that I had that I do remember. With the Garratt gone, the railways needed a banker. So, They have a word with BR who just so happens, because they probably by the time they need a new banker is probably when Steam's just about over, so like 67, 68, and they look at Licky and they see one of the 9Fs there.
Oh.
Yeah, he knows where this is going. Yeah.
Oh,
And so they bring a 9F to Sodor. This 9F is called Murdoch.
We'll go
With
into
a
that
familiar electric lamp.
Ah, yes, and in this verse that we've made, Murdoch is one of the 9Fs that worked at Licky as a banker that replaced Big Bertha.
Specifically, Big Emma.
Yeah, and it would have was given the Bertha's old electrical lamp, which it holds, still uses. So Murdoch is brought to Sodor with the lamp stuff, and that's pretty much my reasoning for Murdoch being on Sodor. So for a time he's used as a banker, but then very quickly they're like, yeah, we could just use something else. And they put him on heavy goods work.
So then this is when they get a much smaller engine.
This is when they get a proper banker that would be better for the bank, like Southern Railway Z-Class. That would be ideal. Just a small 8080 tank engine that can do the work easily.
I don't know about that. Because that was more for hump shunting than banking.
No, the Z-Class bank trains out of the bank Exeter.
Okay, so I'll admit, I think good substitutes after Murdoch would end up being either, the Z-Class from the Southern Railway, or an LNER T1.
Class 13 Splatter and Dodge.
No. Stop.
Get out.
That's enough trauma. We already had enough trauma today. So no, either the Z-Class, an LNER T1, or an LNER S1, which are basically the same engines. One's just a 480 and the other one's an 084.
Trying to remember a T1. I can see it in my mind. Isn't that like the big Thompson tank engine?
That's an L1.
That's an L. Sorry. They have so many ones things. It's just so hard to remember.
They do.
The S1,
they really do.
Okay, the S1 is the 084 from the Great Central, and the T1 is the 480 from the NER.
The Northeastern.
I think both survived up until the T1 was withdrawn in 61. The S1 was withdrawn in 57.
Yeah. They were classified as 7Fs. The NER Class X, which is the T1, was classified as 7F, but knocked down to a 5F in May of 53.
Okay. But yeah, I would think those would be good candidates. It means we might have to screw with history a little bit, but we've already done that. So
don't we? We've made a literal new Garratt. How is that not screwing with history?
Alrighty, but
Sodor's mere existence is screwing with history.
Anyways, I think that's pretty good on history, unless any of you guys have anything else to add.
Oh, I do actually have one more thing that I added at the very end. And it's basically like this. So, in recent years, this is modern day we're talking, due to the influx of goods traffic on the island due to the poor state of the roads, the rail goods have climbed significantly to a point where a new banker is needed. So, the NWR sources some old plans of the original banker, purpose-built for the railway, their original Garratt, and when they look at these and they think we could do these better in these days, so they take to the plans. But also at the same time this is happening, there's a new engine going around in Australia. And they see this massive Garratt locomotive in Australia doing it's an absolute beast of a machine. This massive 484 behemoth.
I think it's a 482.
And they think,
yeah, that thing can suitably pull a passenger train of 17 to 18 coaches.
Yep, and they see this and they think, that'll do nicely. So they take the plans of the original Garratt, modify it to the plan. They take the Sodor Garratt, then they take the blueprints that they kindly asked from the Australian railroad owners of Garratt 6029, and they sort of bunged it all together. And after a bit of mixing with a blender, and then a couple of years later, they spit out the new Sodor Garratt. And this thing is unequivocally the most powerful steam locomotive in Britain.
Can I make it a little sad?
That would make sense.
Mm-hmm. And it has on each side of its front water tanks, there is a little copper outline of the original Sodor Garratt. It's an homage to the original.
Okay.
Aww.
This won't be get into our universe, but like,
that's sweet.
what if it was outshopped on the official anniversary of the death of the original Garratt?
They do that purposely.
I'm not done yet. Who, despite being very content, still watched over the railway as, a guardian of sorts.
Oh, well, God, here we go.
They outshop this new Garratt. Boom. Old Garratt soul, new Garratt. Done.
Oh, good. Now we're stepping into the supernatural, but...
But whatever. No, like I said, it's not canon to our podcast.
Yeah,
AU.
it's
just an idea.
But yeah, now Sodor has its own Garratt once again, and it does banking and all that lovely jubbly stuff.
It does everything the old Garratt wanted to do, but better.
And there you go. That's the history.
Perfect.
I'm probably missing some major points, but nah. It'll come to me in like a week.
I feel like Gordon would somehow be both content and completely pissed off by this decision.
Nah, they just see the fact controllers go just like, we're making a new Garratt, and goes like, you're fucking what?
Gordon would have a full-on PTSD episode, and then after the fact, he'd be like, okay, whatever.
He would go full on forever and ever.
He just really does not handle change.
No.
Poor bastard.
Well, then...
But yeah, that's the history, so Micah, you can take it from there, or whatever you want to talk about. I don't really know.
I think we hand it over to Eve and Jordan for the personality.
All right.
Take it away.
Do your magic.
So,
please don't make it too sad.
I already did enough of that. We're trusting you.
Yes. What was that?
I don't think we can top the sadness levels of what you guys just did.
Oh, most definitely not.
Like, you guys can only make it happier from here, even if you tried to make it sad.
That's literally all you can do, is just try to uplift the crowd.
Yeah, I feel like whenever the Garratt first comes to Sodor, runs in with Gordon, runs in with James, they're both scared to death because they think Henry is basically, they think the NWR is trying to outshadow Henry, trying to gain their funds back with the Welsh coal that they've spent. I don't know how much that would be.
Oh, real quick. Side note. Henry totally goes through Welsh coal withdrawals for like the first few weeks of his rebuild. Okay, sorry, but continue.
Yeah.
So the Western region was rough when BR first came round.
So I feel that the Garratt would get along with Henry because Henry would sort of know that he isn't being replaced. But after seeing like the Garratt has not only replaced Edward, but ruined like the majority of their main line. Like Gordon and James would be terrified, but Gordon would be like, You come into my house, try to replace my brother. And you're telling me you can't even make it back downhill. Like, Gordon would be a full-blown asshole to this Garratt. And it's Henry's job to not only bring the others around, but I feel like he would also be coaching Percy that the Garratt is not a monster and that it's safe to go back out with the mail trains again.
Yeah.
Well,
poor Percy.
Here's the mail train thing. So Percy would absolutely refuse to take it. Like, and you know, this is early, like, Percy just came to the railway, you know. He, like, just got over being, oh, I'm a GWR engine now. But, like, now I'm not. Depending on how we decide his headcanon.
That's another episode, Micah.
We're literally making a whole bloody series here. Where did Jordan go?
Oh, no. But, so Thomas takes it. And, you know, for the first few nights, Thomas doesn't see anything. Just because, you know, there's nothing to be banked. The Garrett's away, tucked in a corner at Wellsworth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's one night, Henry's coming through with a heavy goods train. Or, like, the Kipper's extra heavy tonight, or that night. So then, here's Thomas with the mail train sitting at Wellsworth. Here comes Henry with the heaviest Kipper Thomas has ever seen since Henry's accident. All of a sudden, he hears the ghostly sixth chime of the banker. And obviously, despite Thomas having the mail, Henry has priority. So, the Garratt, unfortunately, like, his lamps went out for some reason. I imagine they'd still be, like, oil-burning lamps, and, like, they just went out for some reason. So
kind of like Gator's introduction and Toad's bright idea.
Yeah, like,
Pretty
Thomas
much.
wouldn't see what is banking the train. He'd just hear
Like,
this
he would just
thunderous
hear it.
whistle and the puffing as it passes him. The ground shakes.
And Thomas has no knowledge of what steam engines sound like in America. So to him, this is like some other world.
He doesn't know what's passing him. There's just some kind of supernatural bullshit going on.
and so this is
Just,
where...
viewers, if you are imagining this, put the Chinese dragon attack theme on, and that's probably
Yeah.
a very good
Literally,
representation of what Thomas is feeling.
But yeah, no. So, here goes Henry. Massive train. Thomas scared shitless out of his mind after hearing this ghostly whistle, feeling the ground shake. He knows how long the Kipper is tonight, because before he took the mail train, he helped Percy, or he assembled it because Percy said, hell to the no. I'm not going out there. The sun is down. The
And now
monster's
he's
out.
cowering behind Edward's tender in the same berth.
So, Thomas arranged the train. Henry leaves. He knows how long the train is. Somehow he beats Henry to Wellsworth with the mail train after Henry had to, like, wait at Knapford or something. So he doesn't know the Garrett's in steam. He didn't even see it leave the yard to make its way to the end of Henry's train. So all of a sudden, he hears a ghostly whistle. Henry whistles. They leave. Thomas sees the end of the train. He doesn't see the brake van. The Garratt has no lights. The earth is shaking. All he's hearing is just monstrous puffing. And, like, he's watching the last van in the Kipper, and then just this long-ass boy just puffing by, and then the brake van at the very end behind the Garratt.
And then the tail lamp.
Right, and then the tail lamp. And he's like, what the fuck is going on? I'm losing my mind. And then he goes, after the mail train, he goes back to Percy. He's like, I ain't doing that shit for you again. Get your shit together.
And then Percy's just like, Thomas, you came back! You little shit! I am never doing that again!
And so then
Thomas,
this
how
really
did you survive with the monster out there, Percy? I'm getting a restraining order.
Percy,
so
you'll
this
never
really
speak this night
solidifies
again.
this really solidifies the point of, okay, the engines are gonna treat this Garratt like a fucking monster. And
This is how we'd work Tale of the Brave into our universe, people.
Oh yeah, Ted of the Brave, just replace Gator with the Garratt. There you go.
No. We didn't base this off Tale of the Brave. Tale of the Brave based this off of us.
They've been reading our thoughts for years.
They knew our thoughts before we'd have them.
So, anyway, where were we?
Personality. How does the Garratt deal with all of this?
Well, his main confidant, I think, would be Henry. So, like, after Henry comes back with the Kipper, the Garrett's just sitting at Wellsworth, and then they have a heartfelt conversation. Henry's still like, I don't trust you yet. And then here's James just puffing up out of nowhere, having a full panic attack after seeing the Garratt, being like, I'm not a big engine anymore. I'm so upset.
Crashes into the Fenlands.
No, you just find him wearing the shed and goes like, James, what is wrong with you? I'm not a big butt anymore! And it's just what? Just go and just fucking just leave, I deal with this shit.
Okay, so back to that though. At the time, the Garrett's main confidant is Henry, and I'll let you guys take that back.
Yeah. So I feel like that run-in would happen on accident because the Garratt is back. Yes, I know. So the Garratt is waiting back at Wellsworth. His driver and firemen are still trying to fix the lamps, and it's like crack of dawn. Henry is barely awake, and all of a sudden, bam, he runs into the Garratt. I know this goes against Rule 55, but
yeah, we're
love building Henry character
here. We ignore Audrey's criticisms.
So
that's the comment section's not gonna like that one.
So, like you said, Micah, Henry goes through this whole thing about how they're not going to trust you, but at this moment, I feel like putting your best wheel forward would help your situation at the very least. So the Garratt takes Henry's advice, and of course, it's kind of like Frankenstein, like I said earlier, where everybody is afraid. You know that scene where, like, Frankenstein is with the little girl?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that, but with Henry and the Garratt.
Yeah, I can see that.
I can see that.
So they see Henry, they're all questioning him, except for Edward, because I feel like that would be out of character. Percy is still behind Edward. He hasn't moved in like 2 weeks. And Henry just... I feel like at one point, Gordon would push it too far, saying he's a monster. Monster? So every engine that isn't built from a plan is a monster. Is that what you thought of me, Gordon?
Oh shit, we got down!
And of course, Gordon's trying to catch himself before...
So,
Well, Gordon.
Well,
You might be an engine,
You were technically built from plans.
Well, Gordon, you might be an engine, but this engine was built with heart. Something I don't see out of you. And he just leaves.
Oh, critical damage!
Okay, but like,
So
in
I can
between-
see. Yeah.
Go ahead, or like, but in between that, before that, I can imagine like James jumping on Gordon's side, being like, "Well, Henry, yes, you were built from plans, and this thing just popped out of nowhere for no reason. I can't even tell you what he's built from." And like, here's Percy just quivering behind Edward, just being like, "Please shut up, just stop."
So we can't trust an engine with an unknown builder.
And then the Garratt speaks up. Actually, I was built by Bayer Peacock. And then the engine just fucking lose it. They're like, "We don't know who that is."
No, it's just like, actually, I was built by Bayer Peacock. Actually, it's a very legitimate term.
No, and then I
They're
can
just
imagine,
like, who the fuck's that?
but here's the thing. Thomas puts the pieces together. He looks at the boiler. He looks at the cab. He looks at the
Detective
buffers. And then
And he
it
looks at
hits him.
Gordon.
And then, like, you just watch him do, like, 3 double takes. And then you just hear him mumble, "Oh, shit."
No, that's when Gordon finds out where the boiler's from. Just Thomas like, "Gordon, what, Thomas? He has your spare boiler." Wait, what? Just that, I'm sorry, you what? Just Gordon just looks for a second, wait a second.
And then insert back into Henry's comment and all of that.
Yeah, it's just...
So now we have to figure out, how does the Garratt react to all of this?
Oh, that's
Because-
it's just sitting there, just I don't know what's going on. It's just chilling, my guys, chilling.
I feel like the Garratt being so new would think all of this is just normal. For no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's just that one guy sitting. It's just the Garratt is just like that one guy sitting at the bar where he sees one guy's girlfriend walks out, and the guy doesn't even go after her, and he's just like, she'll be back. And lo and behold, Henry comes back after some coaxing from Edward with Percy's brakes squealing behind him, and Edward chases after him.
I mean, Edward being a Victorian 440 was built for speed, not strength. Despite, Percy being the industrial engine he is, his brakes hard on, Edward's just hauling ass after Henry. Like, you look at Percy and you just see sparks flying from under his wheels. He's gonna get
Henry,
wheel
come
spot
back!
or
Edward,
wheel
Edward,
flat.
no!
Wait, shit, wait, I'm still
Here's Edward just rocketing down the main line, Percy screaming his head off, like I said. Just a trail of sparks.
I go see the monster, Edward, please.
What have I ever done to deserve this?
Edward, no, I don't want to see them. Actually, he looks quite friendly. No!
He could be a siren, Edward. He could be a siren. He could be using his words to try and...
That could be the point, Percy, but we need Henry back here.
There's a reason why he's our main freight engine, Percy.
He's important, damn it! We just got him back, for fuck's sake! Oh wait, no. Technically, if this is Edward, this is me. We just got him back. Gosh darn it!
We just got him back. Even though he's kind of technically been back for 2 years, but we haven't seen him enough. Yeah. So that's his, like, beginning personality.
Yeah.
We kind
I'm not sure what. Everything else was kind of covered.
Right, like we marked out how he'd be in the end. You know, he's content. He's okay with his fate. You know.
Yeah. He's very fatalistic.
Like
That's probably due to hanging around with the likes of Henry and Edward and all that over the years.
Right.
I feel like the Garratt would just like he would see like a runaway. He would be at Wellsworth whenever he sees Duck being chased by the runaway train heading towards the barber shop, and he would be like, "Whatever happens, happens."
Wait, no, hold on. He wouldn't have been there when Duck was having the chase, because that was in the 50s.
Oh, yeah, he wouldn't.
because that happened in what, 55, 56?
Yeah, Duck arrived in... When did he arrive?
55.
55.
Yeah, 55. Garratt would be at, Licky.
Garratt would be at Licky.
Mm.
I forgot about that.
He wouldn't know. He'd hardly know anyone.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Let's get Toby into this. So,
Oh,
Toby.
Oh boy.
Worked the
Grandpa,
LNER all of his life.
Like,
You know, he
Toby
came in...
would only really hear about this, because he also didn't arrive until the Garratt was about to be shipped out.
Because what? Toby arrived in 50... I think 55 as well.
I think it was 52, 51, something like that.
Something like that.
It was the early 50s.
Yeah.
We
So-
know it was before Duck. That's
if
that's
it
a
was-
given.
That's all
Hold
that
on.
matters.
So if it was the early 50s, he would have met the Garratt.
Okay,
However...
the book was published in 52, and given the year thing, it tends to be a
I'm
year.
gonna go probably very late 40s, early 50s. So like probably Toby is not the last engine the NWR probably
51,
gets from
probably.
sales. Yeah, I'd say 51, 49, something like that.
I think 51 is the safe bet. So Toby would have met the Garratt. However, upon first seeing him, he would very excitedly exclaim, "Oh my God, 6999 or 6999! What the hell are you doing here? I thought you were off in the Midlands." Because he's aware that the U1 exists. However, he's not aware that the Garratt for the NWR isn't that Garratt.
Mm.
So then our Garratt is very much like, who are you calling that engine? I'm not that engine. I don't know if I... We have to come up with a fake number.
The only question is, with Toby being allocated to the Farquhar branch, would this happen, like...
No, there wouldn't really be a time to run into him unless he managed to meet him at one of his stints at the works.
No,
That's the only time I can really see him
I
meeting.
think it
Or
happened.
if this happened around the time of Dirty Objects.
No, I think it happens on Toby's arrival, because there's no way they're gonna steam...
Oh, yes, of course.
Hold on, I'll be right back. So it makes sense, because nobody's gonna steam J70 tram from East Anglia to the complete other side of the island, or of the mainland.
Honestly, that is actually genuinely very possible. You'd
So-
be surprised.
What I think is Topham buys Toby from BR privately, and BR does its whole thing where it's like, okay, you bought the engine, we'll overhaul it. So they obviously overhaul Toby very separately from his power unit and what we know is Toby. So after that, they ship Toby in, not in pieces, but like they ship him separately from his, you know, the actual steam engine part. And he arrives at Vickerstown, and Henry collects him at the front of the train. It's Toby, and then his power unit, and then the rest of Henry's goods train. So on the way back from Vickerstown, Henry has to stop at Wellsworth to let the express pass or something. There we see the Garratt in its sighting, looking a little worse for wear because it was the war, but not quite ready to be taken over by BR. So Henry's like, oh yeah, hey, new engine, look at this guy, what do you think of him? And that's when we get Toby's, oh, it's $6,999. What are you doing here? Or wait, no, it's $699.99. That's right. I had to think. Anyways, so he gets the whole, oh my god, what are you doing here? I thought you were at Licky. And then the Garrett's just like, I don't know who the hell you are. I don't know who the hell that engine is. Leave me the hell alone.
Who the hell is Licky?
Like, I don't know a Licky. All I know is Gordon's Hill. And it's a stupid name. Because I can get over it just fine, and I'm just like Gordon. As he
I take offense to that.
As he fails to remember he's a massive Garratt and not as specific.
Yeah.
So,
Oh god, a Garratt with an identity crisis.
Oh no.
So theoretically, there is a small time gap where Duck and the Garratt could meet. However, I think it's too small of a time gap to make feasibly work.
Yeah, it will be like weeks.
Basically, the only time they could meet is like right after Licky, and the Garrett's not gonna be in any kind of mood to talk to anyone because Garrett's basically dead after Licky.
Right. Like, yes, the only time he would, the only time he would meet Duck is after Licky. And now, we saw how all the engines treated the Garratt. Now, the Garratt does harbor some small misfortunes against that. So he's very closed off, especially to any engines who arrived during the time he spent away. So, any engines that arrived in that time span of 55 to 58, he just doesn't want to talk to. Just because he doesn't know how they're going to treat him.
Yep, I was listening.
Okay. Well, that was it. That was the end of my thing. It just was like dead silent. So.
Right, well, I don't have anything else to add, so I'm just waiting for everyone else to, divulge.
Right. Hey everyone, it's Micah here at the tail end of our episode. If you want to go take a look at the end of our video process for everyone, we have a special addendum. We have contacted Nick Catalano, also known as @Nick_with_the_hat on Twitter, and to do a commission for MacGyver the Garratt that we have decided to call our little fella. And like I said at the very end of our our video format for you guys, there will be a picture of what he looks like. If you guys want to check that out, that would be awesome. And go check out Nick as well. It's awesome. Great artist. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.